A new salvo in the battle between the US and Iran as Washington plans to brand Iran's Revolutionary Guard terrorists. What is the US after and how will Iran respond? This is Inside Story. Hello and welcome to Inside Story. I'm Imran Garda. If the US plan goes ahead, Iran's Revolutionary Guard will be the first government body to be blacklisted. 43 other groups are on Washington's foreign terrorist list, but none of them is part of a ruling government. On Sunday, a US general said up to 50 guards are currently in southern Iraq training Shia militia to fight. Washington has stepped up such accusations against Iran in recent weeks, but Tehran rejects them as baseless. In a moment, I'll be asking our guests about the case against the guards. But first, Lucy Ashton has more on what makes the Revolutionary Guards course so special.
For many Iranians, the Revolutionary Guard, or Pasdaran, are loved, respected and feared in equal measure. Formed on the eve of the Islamic Revolution, 1979, their loyalty lies with the clerics. They are armed guardians of the revolution, and their influence is as political as it is military. The group rose to prominence in the 1980s. Millions of volunteers swelled the ranks of the guards to fight Iraq, a war in which more than 500,000 people died. Some of the hero survivors moved on into politics. President Ahmadinejad was one. He had led a platoon on the front line. During times of peace, the guards oversee internal and border security. It was they who arrested the British sailors in the Gulf earlier this year. Their influence has spread to business. Construction projects, oil fields and transport systems all make up the guards' corporate empire. But weapons, particularly missile development, is their speciality. Their latest invention can hit targets all across the Middle East. America has accused the Guards Al-Quds Force of training Hezbollah, Hamas and Shia militia in Iraq. The Americans are convinced the Revolutionary Guard is the spearhead of Iran's religious elite. But the question remains, has Washington considered the possible backlash to branding the Guards terrorists?
Lucy Ashton there. So joining me now on Inside Story are our guests. In Tehran, Sadegh Zibakalam, a professor of political sciences at the University of Tehran, and in Amman, Jordan, Dr. Mahjoub Az-Zuwairi, an Iran expert at the Center for Strategic Studies, and down the phone from Newport Beach, California, Robert Bayer, former CIA agent and author. Welcome, gentlemen. Dr. Zuwairi, if I could start off with you first, sir. Designating Iran's IRGC as a terrorist organization, in your opinion, is this a good or bad idea?
I think it is a bad idea to the United States. It's pushing the issue of politics in Iran toward militarization. And I do believe that if there is no war, if there was no war in Iraq and there was no security hassles caused by Revolutionary Guard, there would be no such decision. I do believe that this kind of decision will cause more troubles to the United States and Iraq, and it will be more problematic actually to situation in Iraq.
Robert Bayer, do you agree that this would cause more problems for the United States? And also, is this merely symbolic, or will Iran really feel the pinch?
I don't think Iran's going to feel a pinch. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps does not keep foreign accounts. It does not have any economic interests abroad that anybody can touch. I think that ultimately this will do more damage to our relations with Tehran at this point. And secondly, I would like to add that the information or intelligence against the Revolutionary Guards is circumstantial. I've been talking to experts for the last month, and they're talking about these improvised explosive devices and how sophisticated they are, and they jump to the conclusion that they're made in Tehran. I've talked to the military a lot, but there is no evidence linking these bombs to Tehran. So this is an exaggerated step, putting the IRGC, the Pasdaran, on this list. I think it's a terrible mistake.
Sadiq Ziba Kalam in Tehran, if you could just quickly demystify the Revolutionary Guards Corps for us and how Iranians perceive them. How powerful are they, and what do Iranians themselves think about them?
Well, first of all, I must say that both gentlemen are right. Revolutionary Guard is very much respected by thousands and thousands and millions of Iranians. We might have some criticism against some of its performance, some of its meddling into inside internal Iranian the domestic politics. But leaving those things aside, the Revolutionary Guard is as a radical force, as an intelligent force, as a well-educated force, is very much respected by many Iranians, even those who are critical of the Islamic regime. And it's for the first time that an organization which is part and parcel of a sovereign nation armed forces have been branded as a terrorist organization by the U.S. administration. And unfortunately, it has come at a time that, if anything, one would have thought that both Tehran and Washington were thinking of confidence-building measures. And what kind of confidence-building measure that is, calling Revolutionary Guard a terrorist organization at the time that the United States and Iran have been trying to negotiate over the future of Iraq.
Mr. Zuwairi in Amman, how will this be received by the Arab states who are allied to the US in the region, like Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Egypt?
Let me first make it clear that any policy towards Iran always initiated by the Americans, and I don't think so that any other governments actually are initiated any policy against Iran. I think this kind of decision will be welcomed by these governments, because there is kind of fear and worry of what is Revolutionary Guard is doing in Iraq, sorry, and this kind of activities in Iraq actually is causing more instabilities in these countries. At least this is the feeling. So this decision will definitely be welcomed, and there will be more kind of pressure to put more pressure on Iran, because we know that there is kind of competition, unseen competition between at least Saudi Arabia and Iran in the region. And I think this kind of decision will help actually Saudi Arabia to show its power in the region, and to show that by the support of the United States, Saudi Arabia will be more strong to face Iran. Especially, we know that Saudi Arabia is moving toward opening its embassy in Baghdad.
Mr. Bayer, the Revolutionary Guard Corps has its own air force, navy, ground forces, special forces. They're involved in engineering, construction, big business. This is not a group of fighters like, say, for instance, Fatah al-Islam in a Palestinian refugee camp in Lebanon. Do you feel that the United States has not taken all these aspects into consideration?
Well, I think they have. The problem right now is that in the administration, at the National Security Council, the Vice President's office, the Oval Office, there are no Iranian experts. Most of these people, I'll be very frank about this, I'm not going to take sides, but most of these people are politicians that are making decisions about Iran. The Pasdaran is probably one of the most capable military forces in the Middle East. It fought in the Iran-Iraq War. Its personnel are extremely well trained, disciplined, and if it comes to the point that we go to war against the Pasdaran, and there is a chance that this administration may decide to bomb Pasdaran bases inside Iran, I think the Pasdaran could do enormous damage to American forces in Iraq.
Yeah, do you feel that that would just even galvanize the people's militia? Figures are ranging from thousands to millions as to the amount of people that actually support them and are willing volunteers.
Well, I used to be in the CIA, so I take the worst case scenario as the most probable scenario, because you have to. And I think not only could they train Iraqi Shia, they themselves could fight. To take the worst-case scenario, they could, with the British pulling out of Basra. The British have completely lost control of the city in any case, and the south. They are capable of interrupting for a long time logistic lines to Kuwait.
All right, time for a short break now on Inside Story. When we come back, I'll be asking our guests about whether these old adversaries will square up or back down. Stay with us.